Cone Racing League here at the Marina Bay Circuit in Singapore, one of the longest circuits on the calendar, and it's round 11, folks, and I'm joined here today by the one and only Stevan. Thank you so much for your company, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Just finished my dinner before commentating on this race, alongside you, of course. And apart from that, life is busy at the moment, but I cannot fully complain at the moment, as I'm grinding every day, and I can give commentary to Tier 1 stream still, so I can't complain at the moment. How about you, Jamie?
Keep talking, Steve. I'll just give you a moment, mate.
No worries, I'll keep talking as we're here for this qualifying session now. Drivers are starting to come out of the pitch at the moment, which are both Alpines. It looks like they are in front indeed, with Aurelian coming first out of the pits. Behind him is his teammate Leo. We should be looking forward to this Grand Prix, even though it's one of the longest Grand Prix. Well, it is the longest Grand Prix, I think it will be on this calendar, and hopefully it won't rain like in Tier 2. Should be a pretty good Grand Prix here. A standard one stop, it will be most likely going from mediums to hards, which is usual around every single track pretty much. But yeah, we should be looking forward to it, as Aurelian is waiting on track now, just burning fuel, taking his time. As most drivers can only do about 3 laps, since the track is about 1 minute 35 minutes long. So yeah, that should be a accurate representative of the pace in qualifying here, and then in the race it will be about 1:38 if it doesn't rain, of course. Aurelian really waiting there on he's just standing still there. I don't know what he's doing, to be fair. Maybe he's got some issues with his wheel. Not too sure, but anyway, let's focus on other guys here. Whilst Leo is going to the final sector here, let's have a quick talk about last race here, last week, which was the which Grand Prix was it again? Completely scrambled here, but I think it was Aurelian that won, as Jamie is now back after a slight break there, which is slightly gone away. But anyway, we're just talking about last Grand Prix. Jamie, can you tell us a bit about last week's Grand Prix?
Before I do that, Aurelian's just actually crashed into the wall and lost his wing. So last Grand Prix, Tony won the race. There was a late safety car towards the end, and I believe there was a battle for P1 between Aurelian and Tony. But I think Tony came out on top of that one, leading Aurelian, and Troye came P3, with Walter finishing P4. In fact, I'm reading the championship standings. Apologies about that. I'm reading the wrong graphic. So yeah, it was Bahrain. I need to find the actual Bahrain results because I just had them and I just lost them. So just bear with me for a second. But I do believe Tony came out on that one.
Indeed, it was an exciting Grand Prix for sure. On both Aurelian, you said he crashed out of the Grand Prix or of this qualifying session. I think he might have wheel issues. I'm not sure what's going on here. He lost his front wing here, but yeah, let's see what's gonna happen here. Siep has retired from this qualifying session since he has the qualifying ban, because he wasn't here last week. He was out drinking and forgot and was home too late and didn't inform others, didn't inform the stewards. So yeah, he's got a qualifying ban for this Grand Prix, so he'll be starting last. But this is not the worst Grand Prix to be starting last, because it's a long Grand Prix. Drivers will be making a lot of mistakes, like Wouter just did by extending their after sector 1 here. But it will be a difficult Grand Prix. Grip is low around this circuit, and people will make a lot of mistakes. So even if you're last, and Leo sets the fast lap at the moment with the 36.7, behind him is Rustify with a 37 flat. So I think the pace is slightly slower than I anticipated. I thought the drivers were going into the 35s. Could still very much happen with Aurelian and Tony here, as I8 Kush goes for the 36.3. So actually my predictions isn't too far away from it, as Victor goes second with a 36.5. Good lap there, 2/10 behind I8 Kush here, who's driving his home Grand Prix, the Singaporean driver. So good luck to him in this Grand Prix here. Hopefully he can get a good result there for the Aston Martin team. His teammate, of course, has a qualifying ban, so hopefully he can, hopefully each team can score the points. But like we mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, it is very easy to gain positions here, as it's a very difficult circuit. Grip is going to be low, and the walls are very close here. So if you turn in slightly too early or brake too late, then you could end up in the wall here. So drivers have to be aware for this one here. And I'm looking forward to it. Jamie, are you back?
Oh yeah, I'm back, mate. I'm back.
Good back. So gonna give you. I asked how are you, Jamie, before you had to go. So how are you, Jamie, at the moment?
First question, I'm good, thank you. And second question, I will be enjoying it because there's plenty of opportunities for safety cars, and we could see a change in strategy and complete trajectory of the race as well. So this could be an interesting one. We've seen many strategies get ruined here, or lots of people take advantage as well due to the strategies. Maybe you could be further down the position, and the safety car comes out at the right time in the right place, and you could be in it to win it. So let's see if any driver can benefit from that. But I'm on board with Tony as he heads down turn 14. A slight lock up at entry, went a bit deep as well, but let's see if that affects his laps. Another lock up at entry towards here, and another one, well, left-hander through here, taking all the exit curb, and now going into this tight left-hander here. It's very easy to hit the wall on the inside, using a lot of the track. Get back on the throttle, a bit of wheel spin on entry, turn 21 now, ride the curb, go out wide on the exit, and let's see then, coming towards the Puddlesbrook corner into 6th gear. We go slight lift off, back on the throttle, and his lap time's going to be a 36.3 then. So 3 drivers in the 36.3s there. That's so close between the top 3. And last week, I want to talk about that as Jet crossed the line to go P5. I want to talk about last week because I remember Tony winning the race in Bahrain, but all of a sudden he dropped down into P5. So he must have had a post-race penalty due to an incident elsewhere. So I'm quite curious to know how that took place. But unfortunately, he lost quite a few points because his championship rival of O'Reilly actually finished in P3 ahead of him. And the gap in the championship between those two is actually 19 points then. So Tony, despite winning the Grand Prix, was hoping to take a lot of points away from O'Reilly there, but in fact he got reduced, and unfortunately it's down to 19 points for him as he's looking to fight O'Reilly there, who's currently in last place, has a set lap time. And his first attempt, well, he didn't even set an attempt because he crashed on his outlap for some reason. He went off in the wall, but he did mention he was going very slowly, so could have some wheel issues or something like that. But hopefully that sorts itself out, and he can get back out there ASAP with 10 minutes left to go on the clock. And quite a few drivers are in the pit lane then, as we see some people on their outlaps. We've got quite a few drivers, about 8 drivers who haven't set a lap time. 2 of them can't because one's got a qualifying ban and the other one has crashed out of the session then. So those 2 can't get aboard on the time, but the rest of the 6 of them will have something to say about that, as AJ then is on a flying lap, but unfortunately for him has invalidated then. So it looks like another one of these drivers who are struggling around here at the streets of Singapore. A very demanding track indeed, and a lot of corners coming thick and fast at you with the walls surrounding you too. So it could be very on edge around here, around this Singapore track. And this track is let me have a look. I just had the facts up and I can't actually remember how long the circuit is. It's about I had it all set up. There we go. It's about 5 kilometers long with 23 turns. And if it is a wet race, it's going to be a very long wet race, and hopefully it's not. Hopefully it remains dry throughout the whole session, because it could take a long time for this race to finish, and hopefully we don't have that. And I think, remember a few months ago, last time we raced here in Singapore, it was actually a wet race, and I watched it a few moments ago, and it was wet as well, with Nathan leading the race, but he actually crashed out unfortunately, and it was Walter who finished in first place ahead of AJ. So Nathan had a chance to win that victory, but unfortunately crashed out. But AJ finished on the podium in second place, but he's currently down in 17th place, not got a lap time on the board, along with Carl, Jivoon, Walter, Joshua, Kenny and O'Reilly. Kenny is out on a outlap along with Jivoon and Walter, and obviously Walter winning here last season. Hopefully let's see if he can repeat the same thing, because he was winless last time out in Bahrain after Troye took it away. Troye finished in P2 but got promoted to P1 after the penalty that was implemented on Tony, who's currently in an outlap. With 8 minutes and 30 seconds left to go on the clock, let's see who can take pole position away. It's so close to the top 3, but can able to tie and dethrone Tony.
Indeed, as we see Evans Joshua retire from the session here. The Red Bull drivers having a really difficult season at the moment, and retiring here from qualifying won't make it any easier. for him. So hopefully he can turn it around in the race. Usually he finds his way forward from starting last, but it's still very much far from ideal for him. So hopefully he can change his momentum next race around in qualifying, so he can actually score some points here. 12 drivers have posted a lap at the moment, 3 DNF'd at the moment, and there's still a couple of drivers, some really competitive drivers like Wouter, Jeroen and Aurelian having to post a lap here. Aurelian has been validated, but he's on his out lap, so won't matter too much here, but these guys will be in the mix for sure for pole position here, as there's still 3 drivers within a 10th here for pole position here. Troye is about to start his lap in the Ferrari, and we'll go on board with him right now.
As Isak Kush takes away pole position then, as the Ferrari Troye heads down into turn number 1, then brake before the 50 metre board, hit the inside curve, run out wide in turn number 2, headed into turn 3 there, just kiss it on the apex, going out wide into turn 3, coming into turn number 4, easy flat obviously, coming into turn number 5 now, brake at the 50 metre board, swing the car in, use the outside wall but obviously don't hit it. And with DRS enabled then to this flat out next corner, which is turn number 6, headed into turn number 7 to round off the first sector, 100th down in the first sector, but that won't have impacted him too much then. Running out wide at the exit of turn number 6, into turn 8 we go then, into second gear, up into third and 4 to reduce wheel spin on the exit, swing it in this left-hander here. Let's see then, a bit of rotation, a bit of oversteer the exit of that corner as we make our way now. Is this fast left-hander here, into 4th gear we go, drops it down into 3rd on the next one. The back of the throttle as we go then, under the Anderson Bridge he goes. He doesn't really use the curb on the apex, but he got so close on the entry towards the Anderson Bridge then, as he took a wide angle to get a really good exit with DRS enabled on this 3rd straight. Heading down now into turn number 14 we go, 2 tenths up in this middle sector, as Isak Kushdale was a 10th up in the middle sector on his last lap, but found more time on his last lap. Here comes Troye then in these slow speed corners then, tight, tricky as well. We've got to be very careful on the curves because it could throw the car off and hit the wall as well for good measure. Used a lot of that inside curve there as we make our way now into turn number 18, turn number 20 and turn 21 we go into 3rd gear. A bit of oversteer there as he applied the throttle. Might have lost a bit of time, Troye, but let's see how much time he lost in that final sector with that mistake. It's a 36.1, he's 4 thousandths down. Oh, look at Wouter too. He's got up into P2 as well. 36.1 from the top 3. That is mighty close. And Troye, despite that mistake, he knows he can find more time if he can hook it up where he lost that little bit of time at the exit. Oh, somebody's crashed in the middle of the road there. And Victor had to back out of him. Nathan.
Nathan's crashed out, unfortunately, from this qualifier. Another driver being caught out by the tricky walls there here in Singapore. So hopefully these drivers can be a bit more aware in the race here, as drivers are more the limits in qualifying than in the race.
Yeah, I agree with that. One lap, one flying lap around here. Got to put it all together, all the ingredients together to get that perfect lap, and unfortunately that's a bit too much there. As Drew Vizor for the second consecutive time has invalidated his lap time, so another Dutchman there hasn't got a lap time on the board, unfortunately for him, and he's got 4 minutes. No worries, mate. And he's got 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to try and get a lap time on the ball. What's AJ doing down to P18? He's exiting turn number 14 as we head now. It's this right-hander, locks up an entry but takes a lot of the curve. Very nicely there. Back of the car seems to settle with it now as we make our way now under the bridge in turn number 18. Now through T19 we go. 4th gear corner, back of the throttle immediately. Bit of wheel spin on the entry. Turn 20, turn 21. And let's see then, you can see using half throttle to rotate the car, but he's headed back in the pit lane, so he's not really satisfied with this lap time then. And with 4 minutes left on the clock, hopefully he can get back out there and set another lap time as Troye is about to make his way into the pit lane then, ready to put on his final set of the soft compound tyres. We've got Jet out there, but he's currently not on lap time, as you can see, quite low on ERS and fuel as well, so I expect him to see him in the pit lane. A lot of drivers in the pit lane, majority of them are, except Tony, who's came out for a final flying attempt on his own, just like in Bahrain, under the lights there at the CRC I S8 Grand Prix. He came out very early last time out, and I think he took pole as well, and he went on to win the race, but unfortunately got demoted due to penalties. I'm not quite sure why, because we can't quite see, but Orvalen has crashed out at turn number 2. There's definitely got some wheel problems there, because that's not a typical thing to do for Orvalen. So unfortunately AXA will not be taking part in qualifying and will be starting dead last, and I really hope... Oh, he's left. Yeah, I think he's definitely got some wheel problems there. I hope he could join back and sort those issues out, because that's clearly a problem for his wheel. And I don't think he's got it calibrated or something's wrong with it for sure. But yeah, it's a shame there for Valen, looking to try and take some points away from Tony. But that won't be happening tonight, unless he joins back, of course. But he's got a lot of work to do if he does find a fix in his wheel to get back in the session and rejoin, and hopefully have a good race for himself. So Tony then, pressure, a bit of relief from him as we make our way to the final corner now for Tony's final flying lap, as he makes his way down into turn number 1 we go then, braking before the 50-metre board, takes it in 5th gear, rides the curve through turn number 2, now turn number 3 we go, into 4th gear we go, high gear corner to reduce traction. And now we're making our way down into turn number 5, using a lot of curve on the entry, flick it in, hit that inside curve, run out wide, scrapes the wall on the exit, but won't do any harm, of course, as we make our way now into turn number 6, flat out corner, 100, about 80 miles an hour through there. And the 500 down that first sector then, hitting the inside curve and out wide once again, into slow speed corners we go, breaking the 50-metre board, turn the car in, get the car rotated, use the throttle to do that too. Massive wheel spin on the exit there, flick it into this left-hander we go. And let's see, he gets a decent exit coming out of that particular corner, going into turn number 10 we go, hitting that inside curve very nicely, slowing the car down for turn number 11, into turn 12 we go, avoids the curb there, some people do take it, and now we're coming through turn number 13, gets the car rotated, massive wheel spin once again for the Argentina driver, as we make our way down into turn number 14 we go. Let's see how he tackles this one, hits the curb, gets on the throttle very nicely, a bit of wheel spin on the exit once again though, so he's suffering through the traction zones coming out of low speed corners, and the back of the car's unsettled there, so didn't really get the perfect line through the next corner as he would have wanted then. So will that affect him, I wonder, in his final sector, because he's struggling a little bit of traction there. As you can see, a massive wheel spin every time he exits a corner. Back on the throttle we go then, as we make our way now into this penultimate corner. What lap time is it going to be from our championship leader? Has he found any time? He crosses the line and he goes pole with a 36.0. Wow, what a lap time that was, despite losing traction through corners, having a lot of wheel spin through corners. And look at the traffic there, that last sector, look at that, that is crazy. The amount of traffic we got in this last sector of trainer cars. Hopefully they don't all get in each other, well they are getting each other's way, but hopefully they make it all across the line in time, which they should do in this final sector, as they all slow down to give each other enough space. I think Giroud's the first man in this train, he is the first man with the Ferrari right behind. Is that Troy Avac? Both Ferraris are lying astern, so we can keep an eye on them closely together as Giroud makes his way now to turn number 3. Uses the outside curve there. Giroud needs a lap time on the board at least, because he hasn't got one registered, unfortunately for him, on the leaderboard. Now DRS enabled then for this opportunity for overtaking down into turn number 7. Let's see how much time he's got. 26.7 in the first sector. Not quite sure how good of that is in the first sector, but as you can see there, hooking up the corners really nicely, getting on the throttle when he needs to. Quite smooth is the traction. A bit of correction there on the steering as he entered through turn number 9. Now coming through turn 10 we go. Let's see how he takes this one. Turn number 11 takes very nicely. Oh, that was so close to the wall there. The curb. Oh, man, the lap is ruined. And unfortunately, Giroud there will not be setting a lap time on the board, as both Ferraris are right behind. Hopefully, he didn't hold one of them up. Otherwise, that'll cost him a bit, because Troye is on his final flying lap, and there's his teammate ahead of him. But Troye is 1/10 down in the first sector, and Rezify is just further ahead as well. So, how much time did he find in that middle sector? Carl has crashed out of the session there as Rez makes his way now towards the slow speed corners, going into turn number 18. Now 19 we go. This is turn 20 into this right-hander, now left-hander followed. He takes too much curb and the back end of the car just goes there. So by taking too much curb, just the rear end of the car unsettled, and unfortunately will not be finding any time due to that. Julian, the Alfa Romeo, is making his way towards the line now, goes P5, decent performance from him, as Isak Kush takes pole away, the first man to break into 35.9, so what a lap time there from Isak Kush, pulled out as Walter goes into second place in the Mercedes then, and the Alpina Leo goes into P7. But what a qualifying session that was then to round off. Unfortunately, Jeroen Visser could not get a lap time on the board. The Anderson Bridge lost the back end of the car, hit the wall, and unfortunately we'll be starting down to P17 then. So looks like that corner there, what corner was it? Turn number 12 just threw him off a little bit because he went deep into turn number 12, compromised his entry into T13 and hit the curb there, lost the back end of the car, and unfortunately could not get a lap time on the board for him then. So that's game over in qualifying. And Isa Kush, your man on pole position, the only man to break into the 35s ahead of Walter in P2, championship leader Tony in P3 ahead of Troy there, and I believe Stevan is back. Welcome back, mate.
I'm back, yeah, so I had these bad cramps throughout this qualifying session, so I was taking a slight break there, so as I didn't want to interrupt the stream there, was me having pain, but it's gone now, so I'm fully back, so I'm glad to be back for this race at least. Look like in qualifying session with so many times being close, at least one guy got into the 35s, which I predicted, which is coincidentally Isat Kush being the home driver here, so I think so at least. Is he from Singapore?
Yeah, he is, mate.
Yeah, so it's home Grand Prix, so it was meant to be that he got pole position here, so and it's certainly going to be interesting Grand Prix with Wouter, Tony and Troye within the top 4 and then Aurelian down in 20th, so this race is going to be very exciting to say the least.
I do believe Aurelian left the session because he crashed out at turn number 2. I think he's got a problem with his steering wheel, unfortunately, so I'm not quite sure if he's rejoined back the session, but his wheel doesn't look like... But I haven't been on board with him, so I'm not quite sure what the steering issue is. Maybe if he has one or not, I'm not quite sure, but obviously crashed now at turn number 2. I don't think... Not on his lap either, he was on his out lap, so I don't think it was him, it was just his wheel or something like that. So if he has joined back the session, I hope he's got his wheel fixed, but if he hasn't, then it's a shame for him because he's quite close behind Tony in the championship with a lot of points to gain as well around the circuit, a lot of points to gain and lose for both our contenders. But if Aurelian doesn't join, he's going to be losing a lot more if Tony wins or scores quite a few points around here. So it looks like he's got a lot of work to do on his return to Austria next week. If he does come back, well, he should come back, but obviously not this race. And yeah, like you said, should be an interesting race here in Singapore with Isa Kush, Walter, Troye and Tony fighting it out for the race win. Last time he came to the Singapore Grand Prix, I believe it was Walter who took the victory in the wet conditions. I think it was raining throughout the whole race as well. And
yeah,
it was
I can
Walter
remember
won.
that race. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jay, continue.
I finished once I said Walter won.
Well, it was an interesting race, certainly. I can remember that race as well. It was it started off dry, I'm pretty sure, and then went to intermediates, and then to wet, and then back to inters, I'm pretty sure. And there was guys staying out on the wets, trying to get a race win, like Nathan, and unfortunately that didn't work out. Inter runners were just quicker at the end, and then managed to overtake other people, which was the summary of that Grand Prix. But hopefully we can have some sort of Grand Prix like that in terms of action. Looks to be a dry race for the moment here. Let me quickly get the details up for the tires. Everyone's starting on the hard tires presumably, and then you've got Jeroen and Evans Joshua both starting on the mediums here, so they'll be looking forward to moving up many positions here straight away from their pole qualifying sessions. I'm going to be on board with Aurelian here. Is he in the session? I'm not too sure. It looks like he isn't, as his AI is driving here. So that's a horrific news there for Aurelian here, as he's going to score not too many points here, and his title rivals are all in the top 4 here. So that's far from ideal for him. But hopefully Tony will make some mistakes in his case, and then others will race hard against each other. So yeah, so everyone's gonna score some points, so hopefully some good points. Well, that's difficult to say. I don't know what I'm saying, to be honest, but hey ho, let's be looking forward to this Grand Prix at least.
Yes, indeed. As you can see, Isa Kush is already lined up on the grid where O'Reilly's car is at turn number 14, just driving very slowly, so he's got a long time to wait on the grid there. Has the Aston Martin driver from Singapore as the top three then, all is shot with Choi coming in the background, followed by the Alfa Romeo of Julian, who qualified really well, with Victor on his appearance as well in P6. Both McLarens doing a stellar job with Victor and Jet in P6 and P7. Unfortunately, P8, sorry. Unfortunately, Nelly Safu couldn't be here with us tonight, so his replacement is Victor, as both McLarens are Jet and Nelly Safu, and we tend to see them regularly sneak up into the top 10, those both McLarens. So let's see then. Isak Kush there has parked it really nicely there, and he's parked it all the way to the right hand side there, hoping to get a decent start off the line. Can Walter make an appearance into turn number 1? We saw tier 3 when George Hargreaves and Little One went side by side throughout the whole first 3 corners there, and the outside line wasn't right because he lost traction. But let's see then, as the lights there fade away with 5 lights. And we are underway then for the Singapore Grand Prix. Let's see who gets a better start off the line. It seems like Isak Kush has with Tony alongside Walter. Going into turn number 1 we go. And you can see there Walter takes the inside line into turn 3 we go. Now there's a Ferrari in the background running off the track. I think that was Reservoir. He's alongside, but we've got a spinner in the background now. That is a Kenny, who has dropped himself out of well, down into P20 now, and we can see Leo and the Ferrari Reds with Jet in the distance there, going side by side now. It's Jet and Leo then, because Reservoir got ahead of them both, and they make our way now into turn 7 we go. Jet has to remain in P8 there, as Leo has the inside line and stays in P7 then. So the top 4, as you were with Julian in P5, Rez moved up a place in P6 with Leo in P7. Jet, Victor's lost a few places, he's down in P9. Unfortunately for him, he started P6 I believe, with QRT Leo in the back of him. A few position swaps going on in the midfield there, with Jeroen moving his AlphaTauri up into P13, now putting pressure on his fellow Dutchman of Carl. Obviously got the medium compound tyres. Is he going to make a lunge up here the inside? Yes he is, and it's Jeroen Visser makes a lunge up the inside. Doesn't need no secret invitations, does Jeroen, but the car get a decent exit because he's got DiMaggio right behind him now as we make our way now into turn number 14. Who's late to the brakes? It's DiMaggio then, as we make our way side by side coming out of team number 14. I think they both make slight contact as we make our way down into turn 15. None of them willing to yield in this first lap, and now Carl has to yield there as he gets out of shape just a little bit with the Haas of Jasper right behind, but not going to send a move up the inside because that is a risky move going into a corner like that. And further up we can see Jeroen crawling over the back of Bompier, who's putting pressure on Leroy, who looks like he's struggling just a bit then. So we move on to lap 2. Isak Kush, the major race leader, ahead of Walter with Tony in P3 there, followed by the rest of them. Jeroen gets out of shape there, back of the car wobbling at the exit of the last corner. But we'll see then as we make our way down to turn 1. There's an Alpine there going down the inside. That's Already, he's back in the session. Jasper goes wide at turn number 2, and here comes Already then up into P15 he goes. So he was dead last, now he's up into P15, and AJ's the first man in the pits, probably due to damage.
Indeed. I was on board with Leo there, as he got fully sent into turn 1 there by McLaren and Reservoir there, so I was far from ideal from him. I'm not sure how he didn't get damage there, but he didn't, and he still managed to keep going there. Now in P7 here, but overall it's been a kind of a clean start there, as you have Isak Kush pulling away from Bouter here, 1.1 seconds clear. You don't do that very easily there for pulling away from Bouter there, but pretty satisfied with how the start's going. Jeroen has had a really good start. You really using those medium tires to full effect here, gaining 6 places there from P17 up to P11 and being very close to the back of Leroy here, trying to actually make contact and nearly spinning around Leroy there, actually losing place to Bumpy now, as they now run side by side to the corner, and Jeroen actually pulls clear. But Jeroen shouldn't do that too often, as he'll lose time to both McLarens, who are on P8 and P9.
Yeah, it looks like Leroy was already struggling anyways, that's why he's dropped a second away from Victor, but now getting hit by the back of Jeroen there, who's lost even more time unfortunately for him, so he's having to stay in a lot of pressure as Tony sets the fastest lap then of the race, as Walter is trying to close in on the DRS range of Isak Kush, which he has done so, and DRS is enabled then, so can he use that to try to stick. Oh, there's a Red Bull in the background, we just saw him crash, and that's Jeroen making up the inside. He went off the track at the exit of turn number 1, he's up into 10th place, is Jeroen, and it went a bit deep, but I think that was Evans Joshua who we saw catapulted toward there, lost his wing, but thankfully not his tyres, and he's definitely got a full lap now to do on those well, on that front wing, unfortunately for him, so a whole lot of suffering. He might be the first one to cause a safety car though, because he's crashed out at turn number 5 there, so let's see if a safety car is necessary. Looks like it's not now, because it would have come out by now, so a safety car will not appear then. At every race we've had in F1, we've always had a safety car appearance since 2008, and that record is always ongoing due to the difficulty of this track as well. If it's not crashes, his reliability can be tend to be poor around here too, with the high demands of this circuit then. And it looks like Wouter were not able to pull in of the DRS range of Isaac Kush. He finds himself in the clutches of Tony. It looks like Aurelia's made a move on Bob Pierre. Look at that then, we've got some action in the midfield with QRT Leroy getting overtaken by Bob Pierre, who has DRS now down this straight, and Carl is under pressure from Aurelian, who sneaks down the ends. Oh, he hit the wall! Looks like he went a bit too wide there, did Aurelian, and didn't leave enough space for Carl, and there goes Demargel up the inside of Carl. Those two were fighting a few laps ago, and now they find themselves back together, Demargel and Carl there. So Carl might have sustained front wing damage due to hit the wall. He hasn't got any evidently on the screen, but might have light green damage. Will definitely affect his downforce around this circuit where you need it the most, and unfortunately there will be suffering unless he pits, of course. But we've got a pitter, that is Leroy then, so it looks like Leroy there is pitted for a brand new wing. Hasn't got any damage evidently on this screen. Oh, he hit the wall on the edge of the pit lane, has Leroy then, so might have broken that front wing even more if he has got any damage. Kenny's on the back of Nathan there, so Kenny, despite spinning, it looks like he found himself in a battle with Nathan, then his former teammate as well, for good measure, and he's in the Mercedes. Kenny is struggling around here in Singapore, but it's not everyone's favourite track, and yeah, hopefully he can come back stronger in Austria once that race comes. But we've got Tony now on the back of Wouter. Wouter is a DRS provider, with Julian sticking there in P5. Kenny's made the move on Nathan, up into P14 he goes. Here's the Finishman, sorry. And let's see then if he can close down Demargel for P13. And it's Jeroen there, 1.1 seconds behind Victor, as he's looking to close down both McLarens on those medium compound tyres, capitalising on them before they start to fade away, and switch over to the hard compound tyres then. And yeah, Isaac Kush at his home Grand Prix, he's just pulling away Wouter piece by piece, and it's 1.6 now.
Indeed. The drivers are just trying to settle into the race, as it's only lap 4 at the moment of 31 here, so drivers are not taking too many risks here. They're just trying to settle into the race here, because you don't want to pick up damage early on, because that will ruin your strategy for everyone here, because everyone is on hard tires and you cannot make the medium tires till the end of the Grand Prix. So drivers are just taking it very carefully here. Isaac is driving a really good race at the moment. 1.8 seconds clear of Wouter here, and Wouter isn't even that slow, because he's nearly a second clear of Tony here. And so he's just putting up a really good performance here. I'm presuming Wouter's just managing his tires and pushing later on in the Grand Prix, so he can close up to Isaac Kush here. Isaac Kush is a controller user here, I'm pretty sure, so it will become more difficult for Isaac Kush to keep that lead, as the wheel uses will be smoother and using less of the tires throughout the Grand Prix here. But we'll see if he can do his best here, as Evans George has last session the disaster for Grand Prix here. Terrible qualifying session, and unfortunately a terrible race here hasn't helped him. We see Aurelian moving up to P11 now. You mentioned him hitting the wall here, but it doesn't seem to influence him moving up to the field now, as he's now in P11 trying to catch up to the McLarens and the Alpha Tauri here of Jeroen, who's doing a steady job right now, has closed up to the McLarens and actually overtaken one of them, and now trying to overtake Jet and the Alpine of Leo here.
Yeah, Jet really is showing a good performance. McLaren in Tier 3 won the race, and they've got both McLarens there inside the top 10 as well, trying to score some good points. As you can see, Jet all over the back of Leo. They're going to be very careful, because you can see the difference in cornering speed there, as Jet is able to take the corners more quicker than Leo. As you can see in the background, Giroud get more squirrely coming out of the exits there. And let's see that if Jet could try and force a move on Leo, because he's all over the back of him and waiting for the DRS to activate for him on the straights to try and boost his pace even more then. So ahead on the straight then, I don't think any moves will be down into turn number 1. He's going to wait until turn number 5 when he can do that move, of course. But yeah, Jet's doing a really good performance here. I don't think he appeared last week, did Jet, but he's back here this week. And with Victor as his teammate down in P10, we've got a spinner, which is Bompier down in P12. I think that's Jasper actually, down in P18 who's gone for a spin. But we can see Jet now using the ERS to his advantage with the DRS, of course, pulls the inside line, and he should get this move done easily if he's late to the brakes, but he is down the inside. Is Leo able to fight back though? When he able to go down the inside? Nope, he thought about it, but jiggles back to the left hand side and goes back in his racing line. And now we've got Giroud to contend with on those medium compound tyres, as we've got more drivers in the pit lane, as Carl has retired in the pit lane then, so he's called it quits for a day. Not liking this circuit whatsoever. It's not everyone's favourite, of course. A lot of drivers do struggle. No! Did he? Oh, did he crash the pit lane?
Let me check. I'm gonna go on board with Leroy if I can catch him. If he did retire on track, I presume he did. Scott disappeared now, so I presume he, Jasper is retiring into the pits, even though there's a safe Scott now. So I presume Jasper's picked up rear wing damage, hence why he's not continuing in this Grand Prix here. But interestingly, to see someone spin there in the final turn, it is not an easy corner at all, but still surprising to see someone retiring, especially throughout a safe Scott period now. This will make the strategy slightly interesting now, as we will see, I think, medium runners pit for the hard tires and try to go till the end of the Grand Prix here. So, that's drivers like Nathan, Jacob, Leroy and Jeroen potentially. As we have more people pitting, with Leo pitting and Jeroen pitting, so I expected Jeroen to pit, but Leo I didn't expect to pit. Let's see what tires he's actually gonna go on. Of course, most likely the medium tires here. And a new front wing here, smart strategy from the Alpine team. We've decided to put on a set of mediums and a new front wing here. So Leo will be down to a P10 here, only losing 2 positions here, but he'll have a fresh set of tires there, going for a 2-stop strategy here for 2 sets of mediums. There, so let's see how his progress will be at the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, drivers in the midfield there taking that chance to go for a pit stop, knowing that well, they could go for a 2-stop, not losing a lot of track position, of course, where the drivers at the top have a lot to lose, and those guys further behind know they can make an advantage and go for a 2-stop strategy from hard, medium then. So let's see how it pays out for them. Obviously it pays out for Giroud because he could go to the end of the hard compound tyres now, but he'll be surrounded by the medium runners. But obviously he knows those medium runners have to make a pit stop in the race there, so we've got a bit of strategies going on further down in the field there. But it's completely wiped out Isak Kush's lead over Walter, but can he try and extend that once again once the safety car comes in? And well, hello Cole Paradox, hopefully you're doing well, mate. And yeah, welcome to tier 1. It's not a wet race like in tier 3, thankfully. I mean tier 2, sorry, because in tier 2 it was a wet race, and I think it's still going on right now, is tier 2. But thankfully it's all dry here for the time being, because we all know a wet race can take a while, especially in Singapore. But yeah, if it is we do have a 2-hour time limit, but I don't think it actually works in the game, because I don't think I can actually run to the 2-hour time limit unless loads of safety car comes out and it's a natural wet race. But obviously it's half distance, so we don't have a 2-hour time limit like they do in real life, because obviously I think in 2014 we had that 2-hour time limit, and a few races on as well back in 20 I can't remember what it was now, 2017 as well. But this track has got a lot of history. If you remember back in 2008, where we saw Nelson Piquet Jr. hit the wall, crashed in the wall on purpose due to team orders, and that caused a crash gate 1 year later, because when Nelson Piquet got sacked from the team for being too slow, to put it in nice words, he snitched on the team and confessed that he crashed on purpose to give Fernando Alonso the win, because when a safety car came out back in those days, you couldn't get your tyres changed or refuel your car. You had to stay out there until the whole field bunched up. Then the safety car, then the pit lane reopened, and Fernando Alonso pitted, I think, a few laps before the Nelson Piquet crash, hence why he was able to jump up the field into P1 and take away a potential win there for Felipe Massa as well, or could compromise Nico Rosberg, because he was in a good strategy too, but he was running low on fuel and he had to pit. And obviously Felipe Massa's fuel problem cost him the race too, because he came to the pits, the fuel rig was still on and it took a long time to remove that, so it ruined Massa's race as well for good measure. Then Alonso went on to win that race, and I'm not quite sure where Hamilton finished, but yeah, this race has shown us plenty of history as well. And 2022, we will see Perez take his win here for the first time in Singapore, as Verstappen had to back out of it. 2023, sorry, no, 2022. I'm getting confused now because yeah, didn't see that long ago. But where Verstappen had to go back in the pit lane, as he didn't have enough fuel to go for one extra run, and he had to start down 8th place, I believe. They came back home, and Perez won the race ahead of Leclerc, and Verstappen finished his P6 or P7 because he locked up, didn't he, trying to overtake Lando Norris, and his tyres were very cold. Then 2017, where we had a wet start. I don't think we had a fully wet race around here in Singapore just yet. We've had a wet start back in 2017, but soon later to go to the dry tyres, and we saw that crashed out at turn number 1 with Kimi Räikkönen, Seb and Max Verstappen, and Fernando Alonso too got caught up after a very good start taking the outside line, but it didn't work this time, the outside line, and all 3 of them went out with Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton went on to win the race as well, ahead of Danny Rick and Valtteri Bottas, and Hulkenberg's chances for a podium were gone, as his car broke down too. Many chances of a podium for him has gone as well, as Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately. Hopefully he can get one as well, but beating the Haas, very unlikely unless something major happens as well. But yeah, this race has showed us plenty of history before as well. I like this circuit. It causes a lot of drama, a lot of safety cars, and mixed strategies as well. We see some really good races, as Dimarjard's back in the pit lane to put on a set of hards, I presume, to go to the end.
Probably so. You mentioned pretty much in every race that they did around Singapore here. A very interesting first Grand Prix around Singapore was 2008, which was the Spygate race there with, like you mentioned, Nelson Piquet Jr. There was a rumor about Felipe Massa potentially going to the FIA, trying to report this Grand Prix to have it folded, so he becomes the 2008 World Champion here, which would be scenes, to be honest, if that happens. But I don't think they will, because then they have to look at every race they did wrong with every certain incident there. So it was for sure an interesting time there. Of course, Ferrari did bottle it themselves with having the fuel rig still on Felipe Massa's car. You were allowed to change tires during that time. Only in 2005 you weren't allowed to change tires. That was the only year where you started on one set and had to make it till the end of the Grand Prix there. But they quickly changed it the year after, so you can just make a bit there. 2008 was, I'm pretty sure, the final year they did refueling, or 2009. 2009 was the last year they did refueling, because it was, of course, quite dangerous for all the drivers, because yeah, of course, you've got a fuel. You get refueled next to you, and if it goes wrong, then your car goes on fire, like what happened with Jos Verstappen.
And also, Heikki Kovalainen as well, when he exited the pit lane at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it sprayed in Kimi Räikkönen's face, setting him on fire, but thankfully dissipated very quickly as the Iceman managed to cool off. But yeah, I did like refueling, of course. A lot of different strategy, of course, with like people going out for long fueled and short fueled as well, with different tyre strategies. It was interesting back then, but obviously they classed it as dangerous, and yeah, it's safe as it is now, with drivers being fueled in the garage rather than coming out and refilling the pit lane. But it would have been interesting league racing tyres to see how it all panned out then, because obviously we have different mixture of strategies, different scenarios in races as well, different plans. But the safety cars came in, and Isak Kush said, we're going to go racing once again then, and he's pulled away very quickly at the exit of turn 21, and he goes to lap 10 then, still in the lead of the race on the hard compound tyres they started on then. So the same strategy, but extending their hard compound tyres there. Let's see who gets a good safety car restart. We've got Chiruda Norvalen very close there as he goes down the inside. I think he made slight contact with Norvalen there, the exit of turn number 1, and he's got both RPs is sandwiched between both RPs. Giroud gets the bad exit coming out of turn number 3. Obviously he's on the fresher hard compound tyres, hence why he's able to close in on the remaining there, but you can see out of shape once again. They're coming out of turn number 4. He has got Leo alongside him then as we make our way down to turn number 5, going into turn number 6 then, and I think, let's see who's late on the brakes. It's Leo getting squeezed against the wall there, sticking around the outside. He has the inside line for the next corner. He's going to go for it. Yes, he is. Late on the brakes is Leo then, and Giroud trying to stick around the outside, makes slight contact with the wall there as we make our way now into this next left-hander as they're so close, and Giroud is late on the brakes once again then, as we can see already making a move on Victor going down the inside. We don't really see many overtakes happen here, but he managed to pull it off. What a great move there from Aurelian, both on the same tyre strategy of course, same tyre age, so that was just pure pace. But look at Giroud going down the inside, makes contact, and he made contact with Leo too, Aurelian, sorry. And him going up the inside of Victor caused him to hit Aurelian, who drops into P10. And Leo's coming back at Giroud once again then, but Giroud's late on the brakes, but will Leo get good traction with those medium compound tyres to his advantage? No, he doesn't. He has to stay behind, but what a shame there for Aurelian, a completely innocent victim, but unfortunately, was that optimistic from Giroud? But as they both went to the right hand side, well, left hand side to defend of course, but I'm not quite sure who's at fault there, but we'll see it once again.
Indeed, as we carry on battling now, as we start lap 12 now with lap 11 actually, with each coach having a good restart there, and Tony being really close to the back of Wout here, so Wout doesn't seem to have the pace actually. I thought he was gonna have more pace right there, but East Coast looks really competitive there as Seep has unfortunately spawned there in the final turn. Being a pad player isn't easy here around Singapore.
Or in this game.
Or in this game in general, indeed. With pad players we can definitely recognize that, as now Victor's lost an opposition to AJ here, who's up to P14 now. Should have probably pitted for new set mediums there, but hey oh, he's now up to P14 and hopefully he can catch up now. Leo hit the wall a couple of times, so he hopefully didn't pick up any damage. I just actually nearly lost the car there. Hopefully he can follow Jeroen now, who's on a fresh set of hard tires. Will Jeroen potentially try to make it to the end here? With the field being so close now, and the top guy is still having to make a pit stop here. Hopefully, will he try to make it to the end so he doesn't have, so he can go into the lead and potentially win this Grand Prix?
It's a possibility. I think those hards could do it, of course. We'll see many people extend the tyres, and we'll see how Giroud manages it then, unless another safety car doesn't come out to ruin his strategy, because the guys ahead can pit a golden branded set of mediums as well, and he'll be out of position. That's later on in the race, of course, because those mediums can't go to the end if they want to now. But I can see on board with Leo, he's losing the car left, right, and centre here. The back of the car just stepping out of him. It's going to be very interesting to see how Giroud then manages to make his way up through the field, because he had great pace when they were all at the same tyre age, and now he's on a fresh set of the hard compound tyres. Let's see how he progresses through the field there and make up for his qualifying disappointments to make amends in the race then, as DRS is enabled then, but he'll be stuck on a DRS train with the McLaren of Jet, Reservoir and Julian. Julian, however, having a very strong race in P5. I haven't mentioned much of him. He was in the DRS train in the first stint. Marshall's retired in the pit lane then, so that's it for him. He is out of the Singapore Grand Prix then, picking up no points to his name whatsoever, and hopefully can recover stronger, because he's had some good results recently, being in the top 5 and 6, but in this race, not everyone's favourite track, and he becomes another retirement, the 4th retirement in this race, with both Red Bulls dropping out, and there's another time he spun as well, not Nathan's favourite track either. He did crash out last season, and now he's suffering once again in this race, but yeah, he remains in P16 then. And McLaren of Jet going very wide there. Is this allowed Giroud to come up the inside? No, Jet places the car in the middle of the road there, but can Giroud get a great exit, capitalising on those medium compound tyres to his advantage then, using the ERS, but also Jet has DRS then, so not able to make a move unless he outbrakes Jet, which he can't quite do so because Jet's too far ahead. However, AJ's overtaking Leroy. He moves himself up now into P13. He goes, went a bit wide, could out turn number 14, but makes it and stays on the track then. But Leo's getting frustrated because he wants to use his medium compound tyres to advantage to move up the field too, along with Giroud, but he's stuck in a DRS train himself, and with someone on the fresh hard compound tyres, it's going to be quite hard to do so as well. Not much difference between those two tyres, of course. Well, there is, but Giroud then up into P8 on the fresher hards can defend against Leo, But as we move on now to lap 13 out of 31, let's see if Giroud can make a move up the inside into turn number 5. Can he get a great exit like he did on Bompier and Kenny as well? Quit out of turn 3 then. Is he close enough now? Can he get a decent exit? Quit out of turn number 4 here. Let's see then, using the grip on those hard compound tyres to his advantage. He's all over the back of Jet, but Jet having DRS on the straight too. Oh no, he just breezes past him. But bear in mind though, Jet did not use the ERS. Jet's quite a lot of ERS at his disposal to use later on in the Grand Prix when he wants those. So he can defend that against Leo. But Giroud up into P7 he goes then in the AlphaTauri, putting pressure on Reservoir. He's got Julian for company ahead too.
Indeed. Very good move there from Jeroen. Jeroen seems to be really comfortable right now. Of course, he does have a better set of tires compared to the cars ahead, but still, it was a very nice move. Had a good exit there and was alongside him quite easily there, and now up to P7 here. So, like I said, many people making mistakes in this session now, as we have yellow flags for Nathan in Sector 1 here. So, far from ideal Grand Prix there for Nathan. But hopefully he can turn it around, and there might be another state car, so he just better keep going, because you never know here. But you're having a really strong drive there. People making mistakes, and he is keeping it clean right now, and really working up the field here. He's right behind Reservoir, who's actually slightly tapped the wall there, who's actually following Julian here, who seems to be struggling a bit of pace right now. Can't match the pace of the top guys here, but Jeroen is in a good window right now to be on the podium at least.
Yes, indeed. I presume we'll take those hard compound tyres to the end, as he's on a fresh set of them. Doesn't have to pit again theoretically. I presume those hard tyres can go to the end as well, so he's in a big advantage there in P7. He knows the medium runners around him have to pit once again because their tyres will not make it towards the end. Kenny is the first man in this race to pick up a 3-second tyre penalty on the entry towards turn 5. Here comes Giroud, makes a move on Reservoir, and now he moves himself up into P6. Then this should be and Alfa Romeo's just spun in the background. That is QRT Leroy, unfortunately, who has gone for a lot of a spin in the most common place as well. And he drops all the way to the back of the field then, with Nathan just further behind. Nathan trying his best to stick in this race, despite being so far behind. Oh, we've got a spinner! He's spun in the wall. That is O'Reilly, who's lost his front wing there. And there's his teammate as well. He's dropping down the field. So did those two make contact? I just saw it in the background, in the corner of my eye there. The other Alpine was losing the car. And unfortunately has hit the wall then. So he's lost all of his wing, has O'Reilly. And it trips the pits for him then, and his any chances of scoring points or getting on the podium is out of his reach now, unfortunately. And a championship looks like Tony will be extending that to his advantage in P3, as his other championship contender of Troye is just behind him as well. So all fall into the hands of Tony there, who's sat comfortably in P3. Can't really make a challenge on Walter yet. He's so close, and Walter there 2.5 seconds away is not able to close in on the fast-paced Isaac Kush there, who's got this race in his hands under control, and looks like the man then to destined to win this Grand Prix at his home Grand Prix too. And he won't be in trouble from there, as he's got such great pace to keep Walter at bay in P2. But the safety car has came out, and I wonder, did somebody drop it on the track to cause the safety car? Is there any debris on the track there? Leroy was the man who spun. He's lost his wing too, and he's the man that's caused another safety car in this race on lap 14. We had a safety car on lap 7, but I presume now all these guys will start to pit to go on the medium compound tyres, Stevan.
Indeed, this will trigger a lot of different strategies between other drivers there. This is perfect for Nathan here. We can now catch up to the back of the field once again, but this will indeed trigger a lot of drivers to pit for another time here. We expect the guys who haven't pitted yet to pit for a set of mediums to try to go till the end of the Grand Prix here. But it's going to be interesting if they try to stick it till the end here, because I don't think the mediums will be any nice after about 14 laps there. They'll be really low on grip there, so it's going to be interesting to see what Jeroen does as well. He's on 8 lap old hards, and will he follow the pack or will he go into the lead here? We know guys like Bompier, Kenny and AJ cannot make it to the end here, but they've got a free pit stop since Aurelian is 28 seconds behind all of them, so they all free pit stop here basically.
Yeah, Aurelian gets a second chance in this race then, despite losing his front wing. Looks like he's got a gift there from heaven, and his second safety car has appeared on the circuit then, so able to make a comeback drive again if he has the pace, and hopefully this car, well, it looks like hopefully he can try and keep it on the track as he, after he hit the wall coming out of turn number 9 there, just lost traction on the exit. His teammate actually slowed down as well once he let everybody pass, so I'm not quite sure if he had anything to do with just tap the back of him, slowed down to say I'm sorry and let him pass once again for good Eftica there from Leo if that was the case. But Jeroen moves himself up into P1 like you said then, so not taking a pit stop, wanted to go to the end of those hard compound tyres. He has a lot of work to do then to keep those medium runners behind him. It's been a great recovery drive from Jeroen after disappointments in qualifying, making amends in the race, but this race is far from over yet because Jeroen's got a lot of work to do in P1 to keep these medium runners at bay. How difficult will it be for him then? Is he able to keep those guys behind? But with the judging by the pace from Isak Kush, I wonder how hard it will be to defend from him, because his pace has been mighty in this race. Nothing's stopped him so far, and I don't think a safety car will stop him either. So let's see if Isak Kush then reclaim the lead of this race, benefited from those medium compound tyres. It looks like everybody stayed where they are during the pit stop. I think a few had to double stack if I'm not mistaken. I don't think a lot of people lost any time, but Kenny picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's up into P10 then from P13. He didn't have a good qualifying session either, did the finishman. He started down in P12, did Kenny. And he had a spin early on in this race, but came back strong as well, did the Finman. And Evans Joshua's rejoined the session. He was the first man to go out of this race, but he's came back in to probably watch the race along with us, along with the action. But Jeroen then and Nathan, well, Jeroen then the only man on the hard compound tyres after his teammate is going to go presumably on the medium compound tyres to end the race on those tyres, and it's his second chance as well to get back up through the field. It's quite a long way behind because these guys are entering turn 14 and the others, and he is entering the pit lane to put on a brand new set of mediums then, so I think he can catch up with 2 laps extra for him to catch up. But like I said, Jeroen then has got a lot of work. I don't think he wanted to pit in knowing he was in a really great position and wanted track position. But judging by Isak Kush's pace, will he just fly past him once the safety car goes in? It's going to be an interesting race because it always gets tasty once Jeroen, Isak, Walter, Tony and Troy, the big guys in CRL, always get together and have a fight. We've seen them before make contact with each other in the past few races. Early in the season as well, like Brazil, Monza as well. One of those races where it got very feisty between those drivers. But elbows out for Jeroen. He's a man that never gives up. And let's see then if he can try and hold these guys behind to take a potential win. But it looks like Isak Kush there, judging by his pace, he'll not be stopped. It'll take a lot for him to be stopped in this race, to be taken away from a win.
Indeed. As we're just waiting for the safety car to come into pits here, I think it will come in the lap after this one here, which is quite beneficial for all the medium runners here, as they'll have less tire wear on for their tires here. So it's going to be a tough task for Jeroen to keep this lead here, as Isak has looked really strong here today, looking to get a win here. So for Jeroen's sake, he's got to hope all these cars can stick behind him, and then after 5 laps that their tires are starting to fall off, so they've got less chance to overtake Jeroen here. But it's going to be so difficult here for him to keep all these cars behind, since they are on fresh medium tires here. But I'm rooting for him. Hopefully he can do it. And defending from all these guys here, as AlphaTauri as a team in Tier 1 have had a difficult season with the results not going their way necessarily.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, like you said, Jeroen won quite a few races last season and the season before. 2-time champions, Jeroen Vizor, but looks like this season hasn't picked up a win so far. And I think he's picked up at least one. Yeah, he's picked up a podium back in Bahrain, where he had a very strong race in Bahrain. And he finished in net P3, took P2 away thanks to Tony's penalties in the end. Troy took the win of the race there in Bahrain, but I don't think he has picked up a win so far yet this season, has Jeroen. So that was his one and only podium in the last race, and due to him running no assists as well, it is quite difficult. A very quick driver is Jeroen and the rest of them. but I think the safety car will come in very shortly. And interestingly as well, Isak Kush hasn't won a race this season except for the first race of the season. So that's a very interesting start. I thought Isak Kush would have more, but in the past few races he has been quite unlucky. In as I think I remember a few races as well where just suffered with a few spins now and then. But looks like he's got it all under control at his home Grand Prix. He's got one car ahead of him, but he's on older hard compound tyres there, so tasks for him should be easier. And once he makes his move there, we'll be able to take back the lead of the race and continue where he left off before the safety car came out and take the race win. Because Walter looks like he's got nothing to respond with, but now on the medium compound tyres, has he got any pace on these medium tyres to try and stop Isak Kush? But it looks like Isak Kush has it all in the bag there, and Walter's main concern is Tony and Troy right behind. We've not heard much from Troy this race or Julian. That's because they've been stuck in a DRS tray. Very hard to overtake around here, so that's why I've not seen much action from them. But nevertheless, those two have done a great performance so far. And let's see what the last few laps of this race brings once the safety car comes in after Nathan catches up.
Indeed, indeed. We're just gonna take this moment to relax here, save our voice here, because of course it's gonna get chaotic after the saves go restart here. So we're just gonna take this lap to just taking a
little break. The good idea, Stephen.
Should be a very good idea. My ideas, of course, are usually the good ones here. So yeah, we really pretty much talked about everything we tried to mention already. Yeah. Interesting fact that every single driver has not picked up a single penalty here today, so drivers are really clean in terms of track limits here. Apart from Kenny, who was picked up a 3-second penalty, I'm pretty sure. Let me get the telemetry up with penalties. Yes, he's got 3 seconds, but the rest of the field all have 0 penalties. So good job. So if someone does pick up a penalty, then the rest of the field will really benefit from that, as the safety car will come in this lap here. Here we go.
So Jeroen then has got a lot of work on his hands to keep these guys behind on the hard compound tyres. Will it pay off for him? Should he have pitted at the rest of them to go on the medium compound tyres? It's going to be a very difficult challenge from there in P1. He's at least got track position, but once the DRS is enabled, then let's see if he can hold these guys behind, or will Isak Kush take him in the first few laps? Because 2 laps after the DRS is enabled, will Isak Kush even need it? I wonder, to overtake Jeroen. But here we go then. It's going to get very interesting from here on in, and let's see then. Can Isak Kush take the lead away back from Jeroen Visser after Jeroen did not pit under the second safety car? He pitted on the first one because he started the medium compound tyres, went over to the hards. These hards can go towards the end, but these guys are behind him, all on a brand new set of the medium compound tyres, and off he goes then. Did I see somebody goes to the wall behind him? I'm not quite sure. It looked like he was very close to the wall, whoever that was. But once we go, here we go then, riding off lap 18 to go to lap 19 there. Isak Kush is right behind him, followed by Walter Tony, who's warming up his tyres, getting the extra bit of temperature in his tyres. I believe that's why he got a penalty last time, because he moved too much. But Isak Kush there has hit the back of Jeroen. They both make contact as Isak Kush then takes the lead of the race. But will he give it back due to contact, as they're both on different tyres, of course? So that's why they made contact, as Isak Kush there has more speed through the corners in comparison to Jeroen, more grip as well. So that's why he hit the back of him. But however, he decides to take the lead of the race. Should he give it back? No, I mean, he could get a penalty from that by hitting the back of him, not quite sure. But yeah, Jeroen now down into second place he goes, with Walter putting pressure on him, followed by Tony right behind as well. So Jeroen, unfortunately for him, has lost the lead at the opening lap of the safety car restart. But we go racing once again, then they all as they were, except Isak Kush has taken the lead off Jeroen.
Indeed, indeed. Just making slant contact there. And that's exactly what Jeroen didn't need. It was not his fault, because he got made, or Isak Kush made contact with him, and then which sent Jeroen in a half spin there, which led to Isak Kush overtaking him there. So kind of unfair there. So the stewards will for sure look at that, but Jeroen will have a tough task to defend against Wouter and Tony here. Jeroen won't make it easy. These two have made contact quite a lot between each other here, so it wouldn't surprise me if it happened once again here. As we now head into lap 20 now, which is just having a 1.8 seconds lead here. Looking very comfortable now, despite the contact with Jeroen here, saying the fast lap at 40.299 here. So good job there from Misha Kuch. He's certainly driving away there from Jeroen, who's trying his best to defend this P2 right here.
As you can see there, coming out of turn number 3, Tony taking different lines there, trying to find a way past Wilde's been stuck behind him throughout the whole of the race, and once again he finds himself behind the Dutchman. But once DRS enabled, then easy to try and put a challenge on Wilde because he's been sat behind him all of this race, just building up to this climatic end to the Grand Prix with Jeroen there in P2, and the gap is already 2 seconds between first and second there. So Isa of course has checked out and said goodbye to the rest of them, and now all eyes on Jeroen there, who's remaining in P2, done a good job so far in this race, trying to keep these medium runners right behind him. Julian under pressure from Jet. Jet's performance has gone well very so far in this race. Can he try and take away P6 from Julian? Because I think his best result is actually P5 or P6 Jet at the Dutch Grand Prix, where we saw a mixture of conditions where Kenny took the podium with Bob in P4 and Jet taking P5 then. So he's close to his best finishing position is Jet in P7. Bob here as well in P8. He hasn't had the best of races so far because you know he's picked up a few penalties, especially in Hungary as well, where he collided with Walter. They both got sent off into the wall as Resify picks up another penalty, unfortunately for him. And now the gap is 3 seconds, so the gap continues to grow now. And if Isa Kush does get a penalty, he can build that gap up and try and not get affected by that penalty and still win the race from there, even if that penalty does become a 5 seconds, because it just continues to extend the gap as Jeroen there is suffering from those hard compound tyres under massive pressure from the company he has behind him. Will it get even harder now with the DRS enabled as Walter and Tony looking all over the back as well? As Walter follows, Tony's got to follow through very quickly so he doesn't lose his DRS towards Walter, because he's been in his DRS throughout the majority of this race has Tony. He doesn't want to lose it if Walter overtakes Jeroen and if Tony gets stuck behind Walter as well, so he's going to follow through very quickly indeed. It's this Walter's chance now to overtake Jeroen Visser as we make our way down into turn number 6. Jeroen plants the car in the middle of the track. Very wise driving there from Jeroen, not allowing him to go up the inside or around the outside, and he remains in P2 for the time being then, so he just needs more tactics like that to try and remain in P2, plant the car in the middle of the road and stop them from overtaking. But he's got 10 more laps of that to do, and it's going to be very hard. As you can see there, Walter almost at the back of him. He's gone out wide, and this is going to allow Tony to get ever closer, followed by the rest of the medium runners then. And let's see if Walter's going to try and send one up the inside as Tony got hit by Troye, and hopefully hasn't sustained any damage. Just further behind, we can see Olvina now has got past AJ. He moves himself up into P11. Here he goes, but got to be very careful, these guys, because they're all bunched up together. They've got to adapt to these situations very quickly, not to hit the back of each other. I can see Olvina there has been overtaken by AJ as they go side by side now once again. Then Olvina has the outside line, the racing line, the preferred line. Moves himself up into P11. As you can see, Victor getting out of shape there. He has Leo all over the back of him. Leo trying to make a comeback drive now after slowing down, potentially hitting Orvina there, which caused him to crash. And a safety car was triggered after that to bring him back into play. But we move on to lap 23 now with Giroud under massive pressure once again.
Indeed. Jeroen really doing well there, defending against Wouter here. The gap is only 2/10, and he's got to defend every single corner. If he locks up once, then he knows Wouter's going to be past him. So Jeroen has got to be faultless right here with this performance if he wants to keep the speed too. But he's certainly doing a good job there. Not using much ERS, even though he doesn't have much left as well at the same time. Wouter has got not a lot of ERS left as well, so I think Jeroen is doing a really good job here. And the more laps Wouter sticks behind Jeroen, the more benefit Jeroen will have, because his tires will be grading less since his tires are harder than the mediums, of course. So Wouter's got to do it as quickly as possible here to have P2 and just to drive away from Jeroen, as he's actually made a mistake there. So are the mediums actually falling off a bit, because Wouter is just not able to overtake Jeroen here.
We can see an overtake from Orville, he's got past Kenny. Kenny actually put pressure on Reservoir going down into turn 6. He was alongside him, but Reservoir had the race in line and is able to stay in P9. And now Kenny has been overtaken by Orville, who's coming back through the field very strongly despite the rest of them having DRS there, which indicates that Orville has great pace. What could he have done if he didn't have those bugs and issues he had in qualifying? Because he didn't set a lap time, started plumb last, now he's into P10. Had a few adventures of his own as well through the field, and now he's in the top 10 then, trying to score some decent points, trying to reduce the deficit he has against Tony. Damage limitation drive there from Orville. But you can see Chet, he's all over the back of Julian. Julian's still in P6 there, despite, well, he's been there throughout the whole race, has Julian. Can't do anything about it, stuck in this DRS train. But Orville there claims Reservoir for P9. Reservoir's dropped back, and now they're going side by side with Kenny. But I want to go on board with Walter to see if he does overtake Jeroen then for P2. Is he using the ERS now? Let's see if Jeroen then plants the car in the middle of the road to prevent Walter from overtaking. Walter switching to the inside, he goes down the inside, they go side by side, they scrape. But Jeroen stays in P2. Further in the distance, we can see a few cars going off the road there. We've got yellow flags in the background. Bobby's into P6, Kenny's in P10, and Julian's going side by side. Julian lost a few places. He was into P6. Now he's down into P10 under massive pressure from Kenny, who almost hit the wall. There's a spinner. Is that Orville? No, it's Leo with Nathan there as well. So quite a few bit of action going on in the midfield there. But Walter's still stuck behind Jeroen, who's trying to go on the inside now. We're gonna watch out because safety cars came out. Wow. Oh, come on. Why is it going to be a safety car right now? It's getting interesting.
It's a VSC there, so the race will still be interesting here. But a lot of chaos happening here with Jet making contact there with Julian. Julian being sent down to a spin because he was in P6 and now down to P10 here. The Alfa Romeo driver. And then Kenny got made contact with, I think it was a bumpy or Reservoir here, and which sent Kenny into the wall, which caused the VSC here. So a lot of chaos happening down the midfield here. That's promoted Bumpy up to P6 and Jet up down to up to P7 here. But he'll probably pick up a penalty for sending Julian down to a spin here. As we get going once again, the VSC is about to end right now. People are going full send now, and there we go, green flags once again. It's lap 24 right now.
Looks like Jeroen's got some decent ERS to his disposal to defend against Walter as well. I think he's running a low downforce setup, as he always done in every single race. As Kenny's retired in the pit lane. What a shame there for Kenny, being inside the top 10 there, and now he is out of the Singapore Grand Prix. Left him frustrated as well, so something major must have happened down there, because we've seen a few cars getting into bother and into spins as well. And Kenny there unfortunately has retired. Aurelian's still in P8 there with Leo down in P14, another driver to spin there. Julian down in P10, he was in P6 but got promoted down into P10 very quickly indeed. But Walter's still trying to overtake Jeroen. If Jeroen does finish on the podium, that'd be a stunning drive from him, defending against the medium runners. Nothing he can do about Isak Kush. Isak Kush just checked out with the mighty pace he has around Singapore. Nobody's bothering him tonight. It's all in his hands here in Singapore. Nothing can go wrong from there, and it's all down to P2 then to see who could take away Tony. Unfortunately for him, he's been stuck there. He tried his best to try and overtake Walter, trying to force him to errors and mistakes, because Walter's got to attack and defend. Got to watch out for Tony and try to put an attack on Jeroen. And so far, Jeroen is managing the pressure really well against Walter. We've got another spinner that is down at turn number 13. That is Leo, has gone for another spin down there, unfortunately. So yeah, he was outside the top 10 a few moments ago. Now he's dropped into P14 with Nathan still in the race despite his struggles. So, oh, look at that. Tony was just essentially all over the back of Walter, just pushed him through the corners there, giving the extra bit of help through the corners. And Leo there, hopefully don't cause a safety car, because I want this battle to go all the way down to the wire uninterrupted. I think we've had enough safety cars in this race now. We've had 2 of them so far, 1 virtual, as we always get safety cars appear around here. But let's see then, it's this Walter's chance now to try and overtake Jeroen going down into turn number 6. Then we come out of turn number 5, needs a decent exit as Walter should do with the help of those medium compound tyres against Jeroen's old hard. And once we go on the straight, I don't think he's close enough to make a move there on Jeroen, so he has to stay. Oh, there's a McLaren who's spun, unfortunately. I think that's Victor, who's gone for a spin, and he's been overtaken by QRT Leroy, who has also suffered himself in this race. But as you can see then, Walter is all over the back of Jeroen. Jeroen there's got some decent straight line speed as well, because I noticed on the straight he's not actually lose a lot of time on the straights in comparison to Walter, despite having Walter having the slipstream on ERS as well. So to Jeroen there having really good straight line speed, but it's quite evident that these guys get very close in the corners due to the downforce and the tyre difference as well they have on their cars. But once again, it's as they were. Jeroen remains in P2 ahead of Walter. Jeroen's got six more laps of this left to contend with, and O'Reilly there's going side by side with Jet then, trying to take him on for P7 as we go side by side now, going into turn number 15 we go, and he claimed, oh look at Jet trying to stick it down the inside there, had the outside line converted to the inside, went off the track for good measure too, but unfortunately had to yield that one as O'Reilly takes away P7, Steven.
Indeed. Good move there from Aurelian. There was slight contact between both drivers there, but Aurelian making a clean moves right there. And he's got his side set ahead to Bompy now and Troye. Actually, all the guys are just sticking very close to each other. Of course, being held up by Jeroen there in P2, who's doing an awesome job there defending in P2. Here, as Jet actually picks up a penalty by track extending here, so that will send him down to at least P11 there, behind AJ here, who's also trying to follow the tempo right here. But good move there for Aurelian here, but who's gonna try to make the move there, as Wouter's actually really close to the back now of Jeroen, but just can't make a move past.
Yeah, Wouter himself is derated, interested, and not the car in front then, so Jeroen there has got a lot of ERS at his disposal. He's harvested it really well, only used it in certain points the track really needs to come out of turn number 5 and blast it all the way down the straight to keep Walter behind. So Walter's the one derating, not Jeroen there in P2, so his ERS management has been really good here tonight as he continues to sustain the pressure from Walter and company right behind, followed by Troye, who's on a quiet race himself in P5 there. Not really heard much from Troye, but obviously this track is stuck in the DRS train, nothing he can do about it of course, and Tony there desperate too to try and get past the Dutchman of Walter, trying to reclaim a podium after he lost it in Bahrain, and he lost the win as well, so he's trying to claim a podium. And he's crushed 10-11 seconds ahead now of Jeroen Visser in P2 then, so bye-bye for him. He doesn't have to look behind him, he could just settle down and relax until the end of this race. And if he does get a penalty towards the end of the race, it doesn't matter anyway, because he's just pulled a massive gap unless a late safety car comes out to win that, of course, after the collision he had with Jeroen Visser. As Walter goes off the track there, cut out of the last corner, turn number 23 there, so it looks like he's suffering a bit on the front end of the car, just understeering off the track. And that will influence Tony even more to get past, as he's desperate to get past the Dutchman being stuck behind him throughout the whole race, wanted to claim a podium if Jeroen Visser does get it in P2. But what a mighty drive from the Dutchman of Jeroen Visser there, just keeping Walter right behind him at bay for such a long period of time on those medium compound tyres. Those mediums then will be starting to come to the end of their peak performance. Look at the background, we can see O'Reilly there side by side with Bompy as we make our way down into turn number 6. And what a move there from O'Reilly, what a comeback drive, last to P6 from O'Reilly, also struggling in this race as well with a few spins and contact as well for good measure. And he's up into P6 he goes. Remember, a few laps ago he made contact with Victor as Jeroen went down the inside of Victor, made contact with Victor. Victor hit the back of Aurelian and caused Aurelian to spin there. Only lost 2 positions in the process, but it did cost him quite a bit of time. But also himself, he crashed out at turn number 9, lost his wing, had to pit, but thankfully a safety car came out to reduce the pain, and now up into P6 he goes. Next target is Troye, and he's got Troye in his sights, and he's got some decent pace in his hands. I'm just interested to know what O'Reilly could have done in qualifying, because those problems he had in, looks like his teammate there's gone for a spin, coming out of turn number 2, he's actually retired. Could that trigger a safety car? There is. Is that a virtual or safe? That's the safety car itself.
That's safety car. Safety cars come out of the pits right now, and this will definitely spice up the Grand Prix now. And we see Jeroen go into the.
No.
Not going into the pits there. Quickly changed my mind there. He was trying to dummy there to see other guys pitting now. But we see the first car being Julian going into the pits there. Same for Jacob there. So all these cars from P10 onwards can have a free pit stop there. Actually, interestingly, Nathan has made 6 stops and presumably will make his 7th stop right there once he's close enough to the back of the field here to put on a fresh set of soft tires there for the last basically like 3 laps there.
Yeah, they're all past the safety car because the leader hasn't caught up to it on this lap, so they all get another lap to go around once again, and they all have to respect the delta on this lap then once they catch up to the safety car, and this should be an interesting race. It might relieve the pressure off Chiroon a little bit because we'll not have DRS until the next 2 laps there, so Walter there might be in a bit of trouble not having DRS there. And if Chiroon finishes in P2 from, what was it, P18 I believe? No, P17. That'd be a fantastic recovery drive there from Chiroon. So, I don't know. Who would you say your driver of the day? It's still got plenty of laps to go in this race. Anything could happen.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of good drives, of course. Aurelian making his way through the field is, of course, a good performance. Jeroen defending there for his life has put on a decent performance there, but it's got to be I S8 Kush there. Such a strong performance, being close to the field there. May have had a dirty overtake, somewhat dirty overtake on Jeroen there, but certainly showed his pace there, so certainly showed his great pace there, so I think he should be driving despite the controversial incident there with Jeroen.
I think Jet's got Jet has gone for a spin, and that is at the exit. Where is that? That is at the exit turn 21 then. So Jet there fortunately has spun as we've got Resify and Bompier making late pit stops as Victor has picked up a 3-second time penalty under the safety car. I think he just picked up another time penalty as well because it just flashed up once again then. So Jet there pushing hard, trying to catch up to the safety car in his brand new set of softs there. Surprised Nathan hasn't pitted because guys around him have gone for a pit stop on the soft compound tyres. There's a Bob Pierce, the highest softener in P8 there, so he should be very quick towards the end. But I think they're old qualifying tyres, I believe, because you only get 3 sets of the softs, and I think everybody. Oh, Julius just got ahead of Resify there. That was so close to the exit of the pit lane there. I think we saw, what was it, Felipe Massa and Nico Hulkenberg crashed at the exit of the pit lane, or Hulkenberg into Massa, I believe.
It was back in 2016. Back in 2016, both drivers made contact with each other, with Hulkenberg coming off the pits there, making contact with Massa there, which sent Massa into a retirement, unfortunately, in the 2016 version of the Singapore Grand Prix.
And Nico Rosberg went on to win. I said that right the first time, but obviously the safety car's coming in with 3 laps remaining to go in this race. Obviously now coming towards the late stage of the race, they will not wait for the other drivers then. So Victor down in P14 will not catch up to the pack. Neither will QRT, Leroy and Nathan down in P12 and P13. Bompier will have a chance to catch up. I think he's not too far behind. They're coming through turn 15, he's coming through turn 14 now. But now the safety car is coming in, no DRS, and Isa Kush's lead has been completely wiped out now, and he has to do it all again because Chiroon there will have his right to report that incident down at turn number 3. So if Isa Kush picks up a 5-second time penalty post-race, that victory could go towards Chiroon. But judging the pace he had at the second safety car restart, that should be no problem because he had an 11-second gap over Chiroon. But he's got to do it once again then. He pulled a 5-second safety gap over second place Chiroon like Perez did on Leclerc last year. As now we make our way then out the final corner for the safety car restart then. Let's see if anybody gets an overtake done at turn number 1, and the 2 fall back to do so on the occasion. Walter is under pressure from Tony, who did get a really good safety car himself, and he had to watch out from the Williams right behind. Already down to P6 there, will fancy a few moves as he's done so in the last few laps from P12 to P6 in a matter of a few laps. How's Aurelian though, so watch out for him then. As we make our way to the straight, we can see Jet defending from Bompier. Bompier obviously on those soft compound tyres there, side by side now with Jet. As we make our way down into turn number 6 we go. Jet has the inside line, he stays ahead, but will Bompier do the under and over, try and get him back? As Jet then coming into the next corner has the inside line, defends that beautifully as well. Bompier trying to do a switch back, but Jet defended in the right places there, and Jet remains in P7 ahead of Bompier as well. So good defending there from Jet, as he was able to hold off the threat there from Bompier, trying to force one of the inside, but Jet put his car in the right place there and kept him at bay for the time being. But how long will that go on there for? You can see Aurelian then closing all over the back of Troye. Troye finally suddenly finds himself Aurelian all over the back of him there. So we make our way down into turn number 14. Here we go. As you can see, Tony perilously close towards Walter. Walter's actually dropped 1 second behind Giroud, so Giroud and AlphaTauri has got some decent pace, and I think as long as Giroud can keep that 5-second buffer, might be. Oh, there's a spinner in the background. That is Jet coming out of turn number 16, I believe. And look at Resify, they get caught up behind Julian as well, and now he's got AJ for company behind as well. So bit of action going on there between those guys in the midfield, with Jet spinning out and Julian being hit by the back of Resify. I think Resify had to take avoided action there, but Orion then all over the back there of the foray of Troy A, but too far back to make a lunge. Turn number 1, don't want to make lunges through there, just want to wait for the straight, because if you make a lunge through turn number 1, you're going side by side through the corners you don't really want to go side by side with, and losing a lot of time to the competitors ahead there. So we'll wait for turn number 6 to make an overtake. If you can get a decent exit coming out here, and I'll try and out-drag him down the straight. How good is his straight line speed? But Troy A uses his ERS to his defence and try and keep it back. But look at Tony, they go down the inside of Walter. Walter has the outside line, and he remains in P3 for the time being then. So Tony, this is the last lap of the race, by the way, so I don't think Isa Kush might be in a bit of trouble here if he does get a penalty towards the end of this Grand Prix. Giroud Vizza from P17 might be able to win this Grand Prix, but bearing in mind though, Aurelian has the right to report Giroud after that incident where he had it with Victor caused him to spin out earlier. So Giroud and Isa Kush might pick up a penalty themselves, then that could give the race win towards Walter. As you can see, Tony's putting big pressure on Walter. Walter not able to keep up with Giroud here, but I think this is Tony's last chance to try to overtake Walter down the inside into turn number 14. Yeah, he's too far back on this occasion to do so. Tony being stuck behind Walter. They've all been stuck behind each other throughout the whole race, has Troy, Tony and Walter. They remain where they are at the start of the race, unfortunately for them. But Isa Kush then, it can't breathe just yet until the reports come in, because as you said, Giroud there got hit at the exit of turn number 3, and here he is then, the driver from Singapore, coming towards the penultimate corner now. Through the final corner he goes to win the Singapore Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, with Giroud in P2. But it might not be over just yet though, with post-race penalties. That could get very tasty towards the end. If Giroud wins this race from P17 to P1, what a drive from him. Isa Kush though, got to give full credit, because his pace has been mighty, absolutely mighty. Where's that been throughout the whole season? He just managed to find it here in Singapore, its home Grand Prix. Something just switched on in the Aston Martin. He was able to drive away from everybody. So what a mighty drive there from Isa Kush, and hopefully he can have that pace on to try and be a contender in the championship for the next few races. I think that's too late now, but because he's quite far behind in the championship, but still can make some places up.
I mean, this is a pretty good start to his revive of the championship hunt there, but it will be very difficult indeed. He's got to hope Tony, Wouter are really make mistakes there, and even if they make one mistake in a race, then it still won't be enough. So he's got to be faultless. But this is certainly a good step to the right direction if he wants to revive his championship hunts there. And he had a really good drive, but he's got to make sure not to be reported for that incident there with Jeroen there, because if he does get reported, then he'll most likely get a penalty, because in my eyes it did look like it was his mistake there. So but overall, if he does keep this position, then it's a good start to hopefully reviving his championship aspirations.
I can see Isa Kush is frustrated in the chat, saying the last safety car was caused on purpose. Can't remember who caused that last safety car. Was it Leo?
It was with Kenny, where pretty sure no, that was VSC. I'm not sure why the safety car came out there. Missed it somewhat. We were talking about it, but I don't think that was intentional. People in this league have been driving it for a while, and they weren't causing safety car intentionally, so I don't think that's the case. It might be down to just frustration, because he knows he probably will get a penalty, but I don't think that was an intentional penalty or a safety car caused.
I can see in the chat Jeroen believes he's won this race. He said P17 to P1 not washed anymore, so he believes he's won this race himself, and obviously he has the right to report it, but he best hope Aurelian doesn't report him after he made contact with Victor and Victor sent Aurelian into a spin, because it all came down to a domino effect. So the instance is now open for CRL1, and this should get very interesting because if Giroud puts it in there, then it's most likely a penalty towards Orina, which is quite Isa Kush, which is quite unfortunate, by the way, because his pace has been mighty. If he was just a bit more adaptable to the situation, being on fresher tyres, but somebody against older tyres, carrying more speed through the corners, just to wait a little bit more, because you most likely will get him down the straight. But he got him down at turn number 3, didn't he? So he should have been a bit impatient, and therefore no report would have been made in there for Giroud, for Isa Kush.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're checking the Tier 1 chat right now. The incident that Leo had, hence why he retired. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen happen on F1 game. Guy fortunately spun out, Leo slightly accelerates, and then his suspension just goes off. I can't believe this game. This game is so horrendous. I don't know why we're even playing this game anymore still. We put time and effort to practice for these league races, and then stuff like this happens. Codemasters EA, you better turn up next game, because this isn't good anymore.
Oh my, I just watched that. It's one of the slowest crashes ever, and boom, your tyre goes. As Lewis Hamilton hit the wall with impact last race back in 2022, and he didn't even lose his front wing. Against Carlos Sainz, remember that one in the wet conditions?
Yeah, something like that. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but yeah, this game is just not good enough. If I'm completely honest, it's far from ideal. And yeah, it's not fun a game anymore. People, EA got to fix up there, because how can someone that goes like 2 miles per hour lose his suspension and not lose his front wing? That makes no sense at all. So
yeah, I get that. That safety car was definitely unintentional and not Leo's fault. But yeah, Isa Kush felt like the safety car was caused on purpose, but obviously it was not. Leo there the game just caused Leo to crash, and that was it. The safety car came out, and it's unfortunate because Isa Kush I understand the frustration for Isa Kush, because he probably knew himself that he could get reported, and he didn't think that he was going to get reported because he had an 11-second gap, so there's probably no point to be reported. But Giroud took an opportunity there to report him, because he knows that he was 2 seconds behind, and obviously he might pick up a 5-second penalty or 10-second penalty. So it's understandable why Isaac was frustrated, knowing that this last safety car was not necessary after that crash, that tap, I should say. But we'll move on, and we're going to go to the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, then back in Europe once again. And my name has been is Jamie Morris on Indigo, alongside Stevan. Pleasure to commentate with you always, mate.
Always glad to be alongside you to get commentary. You're a great commentator, so it's a privilege to commentate alongside you, and I can't wait to be back next week.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate that as always. But before we head on to Tier 1 for next week at Thursday, join us for Tier 3 at the Austrian Grand Prix, and we'll see you all next time on Monday. Goodbye for now. Take care. Have a good weekend. No Formula 1 this time, but there will be at the Baku Grand Prix in a week's time, so almost the wait's almost over. Just hang in there, folks.